The moment the candles were supposed to be lit, my life went dark. Not because the power went out, because my own mother chose my brother's rage over my existence. And that night taught me something dangerous. Silence can be the loudest revenge. My name is Elena Moore. I'm 18 years old, and at the time, I was a part-time bookstore clerk with one plan: survive childhood and finally breathe as an adult. I thought my 18th birthday would be that breath. Instead, it became the night I disappeared from my family's life and quietly set everything in motion. I need you to understand something first. This isn't just a birthday story. This is about favoritism, control, and what happens when the easy child finally stops being easy. All week, I had been counting down. Not loudly, not dramatically, just privately hopeful. I bought decorations with my own money. Soft gold streamers, cheap fairy lights, a cake I ordered 2 months early because I was scared it would be forgotten. Again, my mom kept saying, "We'll see," which in our house meant, don't expect anything. But this time felt different. 18 meant legal. 18 meant choice. 18 meant I could finally stop shrinking. That morning, I woke up early, put on lip gloss even though no one would notice, set cupcakes on the counter like proof that I mattered. Then the front door slammed so hard the walls shook. My brother Ryan, 22, stormed inside like a thundercloud that had learned how to walk. He didn't say hello, didn't ask what the decorations were for,
didn't even look at me.
He threw his bag down and started pacing. Something about a road trip, a concert, a breakdown on the highway, plans ruined. Every word he spoke was louder than the last. I stayed quiet. I always stayed quiet when Ryan was angry, because when Ryan was angry, the house revolved around him. Then he saw the lights. He stopped pacing, pointed toward the backyard, and said the sentence that split my life in two: "If I can't enjoy my weekend, she doesn't get to enjoy hers." He didn't say my name. He never had to. I looked at my mom, waiting for her to laugh, to correct him, to remember whose birthday it was. She didn't. She just sighed, pulled out her phone, and started typing. I felt the blood drain from my face. "What are you doing?" I asked. My voice didn't sound like mine. She didn't look up. "Texting people," she said. "We'll reschedule." Reschedule. Like I was a dentist appointment. I told her my friends were already on the way, that I'd paid for the cake, that I had one night. She finally looked at me then and said something I will never forget. "Elena, don't make this harder than it needs to be." Harder. Like my existence was an inconvenience. One by one, my phone buzzed. "Sorry, hope everything's okay. We'll celebrate another time. Let me know if you're alright." I stood there holding a tray of cupcakes no one would eat. Ryan walked past me, grabbed a soda, and smirked. Problem solved. For him. That's when something inside me went quiet. Not angry. Not loud.
Just done.
Hold on, before we get into the real stuff, I want to know, what are you doing at this exact moment while hearing my voice? I love seeing your answers down below in the comments. I went to my room, closed the door, sat on my bed fully dressed. I didn't cry. That scared me more than anything. Because when the tears stop, that's when decisions start. I stared at my packed backpack in the corner, the one I'd prepared just in case. Cash from extra shifts, my ID, a bus ticket I bought weeks ago but never thought I'd use. I realized something chilling. They didn't cancel my party. They canceled me. And in that moment, I made a promise to myself. I would leave quietly. I would build a life so full they couldn't reach it. And I would never beg for love again. I picked up my phone, typed one message. Not to my mom, not to my brother, to myself. And when I stepped out of that house an hour later, no one noticed. But they would. Just not yet.
I didn't slam the door when I left.
I wanted them to forget the sound of me leaving, until the silence started costing them everything. I walked 3 blocks before my legs started shaking. Not from fear, from relief. The house behind me was loud with my brother's music and my mother's forced normalcy. The street ahead was quiet, uncertain.
Mine.
At the bus stop, I sat on cold metal and watched my phone's screen glow with missed calls. 2 from my mom. None from Ryan. That told me everything I needed to know. I didn't answer. Not because I was being dramatic, but because if I heard her voice, I might go back. And going back would mean accepting that this was all I deserved. The bus arrived late. It always does when you're running from something. As I stepped on, the driver barely looked at me. I handed over my ticket like it was permission to exist. I chose the window seat, watched my neighborhood slide past, houses that had seen me grow up quietly. Invisible birthdays. Awards ceremonies no one attended. Moments where Ryan needed something, so I learned to need less. The bus crossed the city line just as my phone buzzed again. A text from my mom. Elena, where are you? You're being immature. Come home. Immature. That word again. I didn't respond. I turned my phone face down and let the bus carry me forward. 3 hours later, I arrived in Ridgeview, a town small enough to disappear into but big enough to start over. I'd chosen it randomly months ago while daydreaming during work. A place with a community college, cheap rent, and 0 memories. I stayed the first night in a hostel that smelled like laundry detergent and old wood. The mattress was thin. The room was shared. But no one yelled. No one demanded anything from me. No one canceled me. That night, I slept like someone who had finally stopped holding their breath. The next morning, reality hit. I had $1,400 in cash. No car. No family safety net. And for the first time in my life, that didn't terrify me.
It focused me.
I spent the day walking, learning the streets, finding places that were hiring. By sunset, I had a job interview lined up at a cafe. Minimum wage. Early hours.
Perfect.
I called the hostel owner and booked a week. Still no response to my mom. That evening, curiosity got the better of me. I checked social media. My mom had posted a photo.
The backyard.
The fairy lights. Caption: family night, sometimes plans change, but love remains. Ryan was smiling in the background, holding a drink, living the weekend he demanded. I stared at that photo longer than I should have. Then, I did something I'd never done before. I blocked them. Not out of spite. Out of survival. Over the next few days, I worked non-stop. Cafe shifts in the morning. Late nights searching for rooms to rent. I found one on a corkboard outside a laundromat. Small.
Clean.
$450 a month. I moved in with a single suitcase and a borrowed blanket. On my 18th birthday night, 3 days late, I bought myself a cupcake from the cafe, lit a candle with a borrowed lighter, and whispered, "You're free." That was when the messages started coming in through extended family. "Your mother is worried. You should apologize. Ryan is having a hard time. Apologize." Again. I didn't reply. Weeks passed. I enrolled in community college. Business administration. I liked numbers. They made sense. They didn't play favorites. I picked up extra shifts. Learned how to budget. Learned how to say no without shaking. And slowly, something unexpected happened. I stopped missing them. Then one afternoon, my coworker leaned over the counter and said, "Hey, is this your mom?" She showed me her phone. A local community Facebook post. Single mother seeking help. My daughter ran away and left us struggling. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Ran away. Left us struggling. The story had already been rewritten. And I wasn't the villain by accident. I realized then, this wasn't just abandonment. It was narrative control. And if my mother could paint herself as the victim, then my silence was doing more damage than any argument ever could. But I wasn't done yet. Because while they were telling their version of the story, I was building something they never saw coming. And the moment they needed me most, that was still ahead. They thought my silence meant guilt. They had no idea it was strategy. By the 3rd month, my life didn't look dramatic. It looked stable. And that was the most rebellious thing I'd ever done. I had routines now. Morning shifts at the cafe. Classes in the afternoon. Evenings spent studying or walking the quiet streets of Ridgeview with cheap earbuds and borrowed peace. No screaming. No slammed doors. No one telling me to be the bigger person. But silence has weight, and mine was starting to bend things back home. I found out accidentally. A regular at the cafe, older woman, friendly, too observant, asked me one day, "So, did your mom ever get that situation sorted?" I froze. "What situation?" She looked confused. "Oh, your mother posted in a few local groups. Said her daughter ran away and left them in trouble. People were offering help." My fingers tightened around the coffee cup. Help. I smiled politely and said nothing. That night, I checked social media using a burner account I'd created just in case. My mother had gone all in. Posts about struggling finances, about being overwhelmed, about raising a difficult son alone, now that her daughter had abandoned the family. She never mentioned the birthday, never mentioned the cancellation, never mentioned Ryan's tantrum. I scrolled through the comments. "You're such a strong mom. Teenagers are so selfish these days. Praying your daughter comes to her senses." Every word felt like a small theft of truth.
Of me.
Ryan had even commented once, "We did everything for her. Some people are just ungrateful." That's when I realized something important. They didn't miss me. They missed what I provided. The quiet. The balance. The buffer between Ryan's chaos and my mother's denial. Without me, the house had no shock absorber. And cracks were forming. I didn't respond. I didn't correct the story. I didn't defend myself. Because here's the thing about revenge, no one tells you. The cleanest kind doesn't announce itself. Instead, I focused forward. At college, I noticed I was good. Really good. Numbers clicked. Budgets made sense. My professor pulled me aside after midterms and said, "You should consider the accelerated program." Accelerated meant scholarships. It meant internships. It meant leverage. I applied. I got in. Around the same time, the cafe manager offered me a shift lead position. More hours. Slight raise. I said yes without hesitation. That night, I celebrated alone again. This time with takeout and a sense of control I'd never known. Then my phone rang. An unknown number. I didn't answer. A voicemail followed. My mom's voice, tight, controlled, unfamiliar. "Elena, I don't know what you think you're doing, but this has gone on long enough. Ryan lost his job. I'm under a lot of stress. You need to come home and help." Help. There it was again. No apology. No accountability. Just expectation. I didn't call back. Instead, I saved the voicemail. Not to listen to remember. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived at my apartment. Handwritten. From my aunt. Inside was a thinly veiled warning. "Your mother is struggling. People are asking questions. Ryan isn't doing well. You need to do the right thing." The right thing. I sat on my bed and laughed. Not hysterically. Just once.
Short. Dry.
Because for the first time, I understood something crystal clear. They were losing control of the narrative. The more they painted me as the villain, the more people started asking why. Why did she leave without a word? Why didn't she come back? Why was Ryan always at the center of every crisis? And questions are dangerous when you're built on excuses. Then came the moment that changed everything. I received an email from my college financial aid office. Full scholarship. Tuition covered. Housing stipend approved. I stared at the screen for a full minute. This wasn't just freedom. This was independence with receipts. I forwarded the email to myself. Printed it. Folded it carefully. Because I knew, deep down, this was the point where silence would stop being enough. Soon, they would reach out again. Not to ask how I was, but to ask what I had. And when that moment came, I wouldn't raise my voice. I wouldn't argue. I would simply choose myself. And that choice, that was going to cost them more than they ever imagined. They didn't come back because they missed me. They came back because they needed what I had built without them. The first knock came on a Tuesday afternoon. I remember because Tuesdays were quiet. No rush at the cafe. No noise in my apartment complex. Just me, my laptop, and a future that finally felt real. When I opened the door, my stomach dropped. My mother stood there. She looked smaller than I remembered, tired, her smile practiced and strained, like she was stepping onto a stage she hadn't rehearsed for. "Elena," she said softly, like my name was something fragile. I didn't hug her. I didn't step back either. I just waited. Behind her, Ryan leaned against the railing, arms crossed. Same expression, same entitlement. "Can we come in?" my mom asked. I glanced at my tiny apartment. The mismatched furniture, the books stacked neatly by subject, the life they hadn't paid for. "Yes," I said, "but not for long." Her eyebrows flickered, surprise mixed with offense. They sat on my couch like guests who expected to be hosts again. For a moment, no one spoke. Then my mom sighed, the sigh she used when she wanted sympathy, without explanation. "You've made things very difficult," she began. I almost laughed. Instead, I nodded. "Go on." She blinked, not used to that response. "Ryan's been struggling," she said. "Losing his job hit him hard. The house feels empty without you." Empty. Not peaceful. Not regretful. Empty. Ryan finally spoke. "You didn't have to disappear like that." Disappear. I leaned back in my chair. "I didn't disappear," I said calmly. "I left." My mom frowned. "You could have talked to us." I tilted my head. "Like when you canceled my birthday without talking to me?" Silence. Ryan scoffed. "That was one night." "One night," I repeated.
Yes.
"The night you decided I didn't matter." My mom's voice sharpened. "That's not fair." "No," I agreed. "It wasn't." She looked around my apartment again, at the neatness, the calm. "You seem okay," she said slowly. "I am," I replied. That was the moment the script changed. Her tone softened. Concern replaced accusation. "Well, if you're doing okay," she said, "maybe you could help us get back on our feet. Just temporarily." There it was. Not come home. Not we're sorry. Help. Ryan leaned forward. "You owe us at least that much." I stared at him, at the brother who got everything by breaking everything. "I don't owe you anything," I said. My mom's face hardened. "So this is punishment?" she snapped. "You're holding a grudge?" I stood up. "No," I said. "This is a boundary." I walked to my desk and picked up the folded paper. My scholarship letter. I handed it to her. She read it.
Once. Twice.
Her mouth opened slightly. You didn't tell us," she whispered. "I didn't need to," I replied. Ryan laughed bitterly. "Must be nice." "It is," I said. "You should try earning something sometime." He shot to his feet. "You think you're better than us now?" I met his eyes. "I think I'm done being smaller, so you can feel bigger." My mom stood up too, voice shaking. "We raised you." "And I survived that," I said quietly. Her eyes filled with tears. "After everything we've done for you," I opened the door. "Please leave." They stared at me like they didn't recognize me. Maybe they didn't. As they walked out, my mom turned back. "You're making a mistake," she said. I smiled. "No," I said. "I already made one. I fixed it." The door closed. I locked it, and for the first time since I was a child, I didn't feel guilty. But that wasn't the end, because rejection does something dangerous to people who are used to control. They don't accept it. They escalate. And the next move they made, that one would force me to stop being silent. When people lose access to you, they don't always walk away. Sometimes they try to destroy what they can't control. 2 days after they showed up at my apartment, my manager pulled me aside at the cafe. Her smile was polite. Too polite. "Elena," she said, lowering her voice, "I need to ask you something uncomfortable." My chest tightened. She turned her tablet toward me. An email. From my mother. Subject line. Concerned parent. My stomach dropped as I read. She wrote that I was emotionally unstable. That I had run away. That she was worried I might abandon my responsibilities at work the same way I'd abandoned my family. She even implied I might be stealing from the register. I looked up slowly. I can explain, I said. My manager nodded. I figured, but I had to bring it up. I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't desperation anymore. This was sabotage. I finished my shift in a fog, replaying every interaction, every time I'd stayed quiet, every benefit of the doubt I'd given her. That night, I checked my college portal. Another notification. An inquiry filed with Student Services. Anonymous. Questioning my residency status. My eligibility. Whether I was estranged due to behavioral issues. The pattern was clear. If they couldn't pull me back, they would poison the ground I stood on. That's when silence stopped being noble, and strategy took over. I didn't react publicly. I didn't confront them. Instead, I started documenting everything. Screenshots, emails, voicemails. I requested records from the cafe, my till reports, my evaluations. Spotless. I met with my academic advisor and told her everything. Not emotionally, factually. She listened. Then she said something that changed the game. Elena, you're not the first student this has happened to.
And you won't be the last.
But you're doing the right thing by documenting. She referred me to campus legal aid. Free consultation. Clear advice. What your mother is doing qualifies as harassment and interference. I walked out of that office lighter than I'd walked in. That evening, my aunt called again. This time, her voice wasn't gentle. You've embarrassed your mother, she snapped. People are starting to talk. I smiled to myself.
Good.
Talk about what? I asked calmly. That you've cut them off. That you're ungrateful. I didn't cut them off, I said. I set boundaries.
She scoffed.
You think you're so mature. I know I am, I replied. She hung up on me. The next move came faster than I expected. A letter arrived at my apartment, official looking, from a debt collection agency, claiming I owed money for family expenses from the past year.
Rent.
Utilities.
Food.
I laughed out loud. Then I stopped. Because this wasn't stupid. It was calculated. They were trying to scare me into contact. Into compliance. I forwarded the letter to legal aid. They responded within hours. Do not engage. This claim has no standing. We'll handle it. That night, I finally allowed myself to feel angry. Not explosive anger. Focused anger. The kind that sharpens you. I realized something important. All my life, they'd relied on one thing. That I wouldn't fight back. That I'd stay small. Quiet. Grateful for crumbs. But they'd miscalculated. Because I didn't need to yell. I just needed to stop protecting them. The next morning, I did something that felt terrifying and freeing. I unblocked my mother. Not to argue. To observe. Within minutes, my phone rang. Elena, she said breathlessly. Thank God.
You need to talk to me.
I'm listening, I replied. Her tone shifted instantly. You're causing problems.
People are questioning me.
You need to clear things up. Clear what up? I asked. That you left on your own. That we didn't. I cut her off. You canceled my birthday. You prioritized Ryan. You tried to interfere with my job and education. Silence. Then anger. How dare you accuse me? I'm not accusing, I said calmly. I'm documenting. Her breathing grew shallow.
You wouldn't, she said.
I already have, I replied. That was the moment she realized something. I wasn't a child she could rewrite anymore. I hung up. And for the first time, I knew this wasn't just about survival. This was about consequence. Because the truth has a way of spreading, especially when it's been buried for years. And soon, everyone would hear it. The truth didn't explode. It leaked. And leaks drown people who think they're standing on solid ground. I didn't expose my mother online. I didn't post threads. I didn't rally sympathy. I did something far more dangerous. I told the truth. Quietly, consistently, and with proof. It started with my college. Campus legal aid sent a formal notice to my mother and Ryan. Cease and desist. No more contact with my employer. No more interference with my education. Polite. Professional. Devastating. 2 days later, my manager called me into her office again. This time, she smiled. I wanted you to know, she said. We blocked further communication from your family. And I'm sorry this happened to you. I nodded. But inside, something clicked. For the first time, someone in authority believed me without questioning my tone. Then came the ripple effects. My aunt stopped calling. My cousins went quiet. But strangers didn't. A woman approached me at the cafe one morning, mid-40s, nervous smile. You're Elena, right? She asked. I froze for half a second. Yes. She hesitated. I'm friends with your mom. Or, I was. My pulse quickened. She told us you ran away, the woman continued. But things didn't add up. So I reached out to Ryan. He blocked me.
She paused.
I just wanted to say,
I'm sorry.
we should have asked questions sooner. That was the moment I understood. The story was cracking, not because I attacked it, but because it couldn't survive daylight. Over the next week, more messages came in. Private. Careful. People asking if I was okay. If I needed anything. If what my mom said was really true. I didn't overshare. I didn't vent. I answered with facts. Dates. Screenshots. Voicemails. And every time I ended the conversation the same way. I'm not asking you to take sides. I just wanted the truth to exist. That phrase spread faster than any accusation ever could. Then the call came. Ryan. I almost didn't answer. Almost. What do you want? I asked. You think you're smart? He snapped. You're turning people against us. I'm not turning anyone, I replied. I'm not lying for you anymore. You're ruining Mom, he said. I laughed softly. No, Ryan. You did that when you learned tantrums worked. He went quiet. You always think you're better than me, he muttered. No, I said. I just stopped carrying you. He hung up. That night, my mother sent a long message. No accusations. No threats. Just guilt. She wrote about sacrifice. About how hard motherhood was. About how lonely she felt. At the end, one sentence stood out. I don't recognize you anymore. I stared at that line for a long time. Then I typed back. That's because you never really saw me. I didn't block her after that. I didn't need to, because something bigger was already happening. The community fundraiser my mother had been organizing, the one she used to collect sympathy and donations, it was quietly canceled. Too many questions. Too many inconsistencies. Ryan's job search stalled. Word travels fast in small circles. And the biggest blow? My mother lost her position on the neighborhood council. Official reason? Loss of community trust. Unofficial reason? The truth finally caught up. I found out from a former neighbor who messaged me late one night. I don't know what happened between you and your mom, she wrote. But people are realizing there's more to the story. And they're not happy. I sat on my bed and felt nothing. No triumph. No joy. Just clarity. Revenge didn't feel like fireworks. It felt like balance being restored. Then one final message came in. From my mother. 3 words. Can we talk? I knew this conversation would be different. Not because she'd changed, but because she had lost the upper hand. And this time, I wasn't going to explain myself. I was going to decide what access looked like. Because the last step of revenge isn't punishment. It's choosing peace without permission. And what I said to her next, that would end everything for good. When someone asks to talk after losing everything, it's not reconciliation they want. It's relief from consequences. I agreed to meet my mother. Not at my apartment. Not at her house. A cafe halfway between our worlds. Neutral ground. She arrived early. I arrived on time. She stood when she saw me, like a reflex she hadn't practiced in years. Elena, she said softly. I nodded and sat down. For a moment, she just looked at me. Not the way a mother looks at a child, but the way someone studies a stranger who knows their secrets. I don't understand how things got so out of control, she began. I folded my hands. Then this won't take long. Her lips pressed together. People are being cruel, she said. They're misinterpreting things. No, I replied evenly. They're understanding them. She flinched. I never meant to hurt you, she said quickly. You know that. I tilted my head. Intent doesn't erase impact. She sighed, frustrated now. You always were dramatic. There it was. The old script. The reflex. I smiled, not kindly, not cruelly. No, I said. I was quiet. You just never listened. She leaned forward, voice dropping. You have no idea how hard it's been, she said. Losing respect. Losing support. Ryan. I raised a hand. Stop, I said calmly. She froze. This conversation isn't about Ryan, I continued. And it's not about your reputation. Her eyes narrowed. Then what is it about? Closure, I said. For me. She laughed once, bitter. So you're here to punish me? No, I said. I'm here to define boundaries. She shook her head. You think you're so mature now, she scoffed. So independent. I am, I replied. And that's why this ends today. Her breath hitched. What do you mean? I took a slow breath. I'm not coming home. I'm not helping financially. I'm not fixing Ryan. And I'm not carrying your image anymore. Her eyes widened. You can't just. I can, I said. And I am. Her voice rose. I'm your mother. And I'm your daughter, I said. Not your shield. Not your excuse. Not your backup plan. People at nearby tables started glancing over. She lowered her voice, trembling now. If you walk away like this, she whispered, you'll regret it. I leaned in slightly. I already walked away, I said. This is me deciding not to come back. Silence stretched between us. She looked smaller now. Not tired. Exposed. You're really doing this, she said. Yes. And Ryan? He's an adult, I said. So are you. She stared at me like she was searching for the old version of me. The girl who apologized first. Who smoothed things over. Who absorbed blame like a sponge. She didn't find her. Finally, she whispered, I gave you everything. I stood up. No, I said gently. You gave me survival. I gave myself a life. I placed a few bills on the table for my coffee. Then I paused. There's one more thing, I said. She looked up, hopeful. If you contact my work, my school, or my friends again, I continued, I will escalate this legally. No warnings. No conversations. Her hope collapsed. You wouldn't, she said weakly. I already have, I replied. I picked up my bag. As I turned to leave, she said my name one last time. Elena. I stopped, but didn't turn around. I hope one day you understand, she said. I closed my eyes briefly. I do, I said. That's why I'm leaving. I walked out of the cafe and into sunlight. My phone buzzed once. A message from my advisor. An internship offer confirmed. I smiled, not because they lost, but because I won, and because the life I built in silence was finally louder than the family that tried to erase me. There was only one thing left to do now, to live so fully that my absence became permanent. The greatest revenge isn't watching them fall apart. It's watching them fade while you rise. A year passed, not dramatically, quietly, productively. The kind of year no one writes apology letters about because there's no chaos to react to. I moved out of the tiny apartment and into student housing closer to campus. Cleaner, brighter, a place that felt temporary in the best way, like a launch pad. My internship turned into a paid position. Data analysis. Structured. Predictable. Safe. I stopped flinching when my phone buzzed, because it almost never did anymore. My mother tried once more. A message sent at 2:14 a.m. I still don't understand what I did to deserve this. I read it. Didn't reply. Some questions aren't meant to be answered. They're meant to be outgrown. Ryan vanished from my life entirely. No calls. No messages. I heard through others that he bounced between jobs, blaming everyone but himself. The difference this time? No one stepped in to soften his fall. And me? I stopped checking. One afternoon, I ran into someone who recognized my last name. A woman from my old neighborhood. She looked surprised, then embarrassed. I didn't expect to see you like this, she said. Like what? I asked. Calm, she replied. Happy. I smiled. That night, I realized something important. They weren't suffering dramatically. There was no cinematic collapse. They were just stuck. Same patterns, same excuses, same stories. While I was moving forward, that's when it hit me. Revenge doesn't always look like justice. Sometimes it looks like distance. I celebrated my 19th birthday alone again. But this time, it didn't feel lonely. I baked my own cake, invited friends who chose me back, laughed without checking the volume. At midnight, someone asked about my family. I didn't freeze. I built my own, I said. And I meant it. Here's the truth no one tells you. Walking away doesn't make you heartless. It makes you honest. I didn't win because my mother lost her reputation. I didn't win because Ryan failed. I won because I stopped waiting to be chosen. If you're listening to this and recognizing yourself, the quiet one, the reliable one, the one expected to carry everyone else, hear me clearly. You are allowed to leave the room where you are always misunderstood. You are allowed to choose silence over screaming. And you are allowed to build a life so solid that the people who hurt you can't reach it. Before you go, if this story resonated with you, support the channel Silent Revenge Lab by liking this video, sharing it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribing for more stories where quiet strength wins in the end. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge is a life they no longer get to comment on.